I'd like to hear a specific example, a provable specific example of an MSNBC correspondent or anchor being on television saying something they knew was false.
It's the only place low enough to put this orphan bastard story in print.
Obvious disinformation.
It is so obviously a Russian operation.
So obviously disinformation.
So obviously a Russian plot. Tell me.
Disinformation by the Russians.
The fruits of a foreign intelligence operation.
Part of that bigger Russian disinformation effort.
A Russian intelligence operation.
Connected to an ongoing Russian disinformation effort.
Linked to a foreign intelligence operation.
Likely coming from Russian intelligence.
People familiar with the matter told NBC News.
We now know that Russian disinformation or foreign disinformation or even campaign disinformation period is as dangerous to our democracy as anything exposed in these emails.
Virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus. The virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else. It cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people. That means the vaccines will get us to the end of this.
There's a dashboard, Hamilton 68, named after the Federalist paper, Alexander Hamilton's Federalist paper, which focused on election meddling and protecting the process, which focuses on Twitter feeds and has determined that Russia was indeed, or sites alleged to be connected with Russia, were interfering in the Alabama election.
Russian-linked Twitter accounts tried using the tragedy to stoke the nation's political divides. Kremlin-linked accounts flooded Twitter, using hashtags like Parkland and Gun Control Now to get into trending conversations. According to data collected by the nonpartisan dashboard Hamilton 68.
The bad news is the Russians are continuing to attack our democracy.
But they are every day playing on social media. There's a website called Hamilton 68 that measures some of it on Twitter, and they're trying to divide Americans on race, on guns. A website called Hamilton 68 has been tracking this behavior for months, and they do kind of tend to tweet about various controversial issues.
Data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also...
Do you think President Trump is wittingly or unwittingly an agent of the Russians?
A Russian asset.
Forget all the stuff that made the White House so mad when this was published, right? The bottom line of this dossier, the bottom line allegation, the point of it, is that the Trump campaign didn't just benefit from Russia interfering in our presidential campaign. The point of this is they colluded. They helped.
He is acting still as an agent of Russia, and this is exactly what we warned about in the impeachment trial, and he's doing exactly what he did.
And now you know from this reporting in the New York Times, which has since been confirmed by the Wall Street Journal, that not only does the president know that Russia was paying for American soldiers
on their heads. Americans found out this weekend that Vladimir Putin is paying to put bounties on the heads of American troops.
He's not even there yet. He's still suggesting that the reporting about the fact that there were these bounties offered is fake. Meanwhile, your organization, the New York Times, and others are getting some fairly detailed reporting about how
would have been targeted as well. Yeah, to say nothing of putting bounties on American troops.
Here's a specific example.
It's unbelievable, Joy.
As the President of the United States bites back on reports of the FBI's counterintelligence investigation
Here's a specific example.
Washington Post columnist Mac Boot took a look at why they did that and how the president has served.
The ghetto president that they thought Obama would be is officially Donald Trump. This dude is walking like he's Bodie from The Wire with burner phones and erasing phone records.
Trump, or someone in his administration, appears to have actually tampered with the records.
These White House records are not just incomplete. The gap suggests staggering and potentially
is anybody's guess. There appears to be a real cover-up of who Trump was talking to while the mob was attacking and ransacking the Capitol.
Was he talking to people that were in the Oath Keepers or some of the other rioters?
What this shows is he's staying out of sight in order not to have any record of what he's talking about. That would actually be, in a real trial, something that would trigger a consciousness of guilt instruction.
This clearly is a crime if it involves dishonesty and trickery, and of course that defines the Trump actions.
by Donald Trump. Donald Trump and his allies, whether they removed calls from the log or they made secret calls on burner phones, knew what they were doing was wrong.
Week seemingly implicating Hunter and Joe Biden continues to wither under scrutiny, not really dropping like a bomb.
The emergence of these emails, texts, and videos that were supposedly left on a laptop in Delaware, a really fishy story. Whether that was actually the product of a foreign intelligence operation, and obviously Russia would be the chief suspect there. Look, there are so many questions about the provenance of this material. A lot of it does look legitimate. There are pictures of Hunter Biden, there are videos, there are emails, but we have no idea, and neither does the New York Post, whether
a verification.
Classic disinformation campaign.
We shouldn't look at it as anything other than a Russian disinformation operation.
Known Kremlin disinformation.
Russians would be my number one guess.
Obviously, Russian
disinformation operation.
Russian disinformation.
Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo.
Hunter Biden's laptop looks like it's tied to Vladimir Putin in Moscow.
History will expose you all as fools and useful idiots.
Former intelligence officials signed on to a letter yesterday saying that the New York Post story about Hunter Biden's emails has all of the classic earmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign.
Russia, Giuliani.
Don't trust anything that he's telling you. This is Russian disinformation.
Russian disinformation campaign
lacks credibility. The fact that it appeared in the New York Post.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Agent K. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.